Happy Monday, guys.
Happy Monday, everyone. My name is Janelle Villiers. That over there is Winston, and we are your hosts of the Monday Rundown here on Say That channel. We get to talk about all the things that we don't get to normally talk about on our Wednesday show, which is usually focused around business. But on Mondays, we get to talk about the other stuff. Today is particularly spicy. After we learn the topic question of the day, keep bringing us your questions. These are really great questions, guys. Then we look to content creators and other thought leaders about the topics. So that way we can all learn together.
Say that. All right, let's jump into it.
Does it matter who initiates sex? Does it? Does it matter? Love the question. We're just going to keep it hot and spicy today. So I think it matters to the person it matters to. It probably matters to both individuals. I'm pretty sure there's going to be one person in the couple who initiates it more than the other. And I'm sure that there are times when one person initiates and the other one is not in the right mood or setting, too tired. And so that could be a little painful or a lot painful, again, depending on the person and how it's handled. I think also if the thing is, if it's always one person, I know that one person who's always like it takes its toll. It's like, well, do you not find me attractive? Like, are you not into me? Yeah. So, it's like I get it. There might be one person who does it more, but it shouldn't be always that person, right? There's the other person who should also initiate as well. And then how do we handle it when the other person isn't actually in the right, whether it's headspace, energy levels,
physical,
whatever that is. I have a feeling it might be more so women than men. I recently saw an interview where a guy was like, a man could be going 48 hours without sleep, and if it's presented to him, he will still be like, yes, I will try to make it work. So there's probably that too. There's probably a little, I know that there's generalities and there's always an exception to the rule. So let's just go ahead and say that. In general, it probably, for that reason that I just mentioned, it probably is men initiating more than women. In general, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, or exceptions to the generalities. And I don't think that it should always be men initiating. The women should initiate sometimes because men have feelings too and shouldn't always be initiating. They want to know that they feel sexy and feel wanted and desired and all of those things. And how the not being in the mood is expressed, I think,
makes probably
requires some help. And as you know, we're always going to get help from other sources and other thought leaders, and we are today. But I think that's probably the biggest thing. Like, how do we express that? Sometimes ladies need to like get in the mood too. It's not like an immediate thing. Like sometimes little things need to like take place.
Set the mode. Yeah. I think I agree with a lot of what you've had to say. And from the position of a guy, I think it matters just because I know that there are some relationships and just from things I've seen where some women have expressed, they could be in a love or they could be in a partnership and still go through some very traumatic sexual experiences with their partners. So married and so on. So as a person who's consciously, when thinking about initiating with a woman, I'm aware that although I may have been given permission from this woman in the past to do what we're about to do, it does not give me a license moving forward to always initiate sex with her. So why this question is important is because of that for me. So even if I initiate, I think what's important, and I agree with all the things you said, it does matter that it's not always one person that's initiating. I do think just a back and forth. I think it matters to a person's self. We did an episode last week even that talks about self-esteem. I think it matters to a person's self-esteem that their partner initiates or engages them and lets them know that they still find them attractive. But from a male perspective, I think it's helpful to have the woman give the okay that yes, you can move forward. If I am the guy and I'm initiating, and similarly, I know it may seem, and I don't want to get all I know that there men can come off obviously as masculine and all this other stuff, but I think it matters that permission goes both ways. And to your point about whoever said that they can get off of a 48-hour shift and still, if they need to do that, I think that that plays a lot with when men are expected to do. Where I think we're expected to be the more sexual creatures in a relationship, and I can just say that I think it's nice to have a woman that's a sexual creature as well, especially awareness around her sexuality. I find that stuff that attractive, like a woman who knows she also engages in sex because it's an act that she wants. And why that plays a role, I know that we've talked. Have we talked about this? We may not have, but at some point, oh, we did. We were talking about orgasms, and I know that for many women, even penetration isn't something that they are needing to have a pleasurable sexual experience. So even awareness around things like that makes a difference. So I think you should be aware about the initiator as much as you're aware of what are the pleasurable things. You talked about it. Some women like certain smells and are put off by certain smells, that may put them, no, seriously, and that could be off-putting to some of them.
Sorry. I'm having a thought and it's making me laugh and I'm trying.
No, but it's a real thing. And so whereas a guy may be comfortable with certain conditions physically on a woman and him saying, I'm still down to do it, certain women are not open to that. And so if you don't smell right or the situation don't smell right, they're not doing it. I'll leave it there.
All of this is true. We are we are very aware of our
Sensual
surroundings.
creatures. There you
Yes,
go.
we are aware of our surroundings for better or for worse, and so even things like that can like turn us off. But I also want to put out there that there are a lot of women who've never experienced an orgasm. This is what was making me laugh internally. And so that's why
Yeah.
they'll say things like, oh, well, I don't need to have an orgasm in order to enjoy myself. Yeah, sure, because you've never had one. So
Yeah, say that.
for the women who have, we're kind of like, excuse me, like
What's going on? Yeah.
what are you doing? Like
That's what's going
what
on.
are we doing? So, and that is a whole other thing, and I think is a whole other episode and show about, do women really understand our bodies, and like the culture that has surrounded us that shames us for even wanting to know our bodies and knowing
To
like
know,
what
yeah.
moves us, what creates pleasure in us. That's a whole other conversation for another day. But
That
I
is.
think you and I have talked about, at least answered the question for today.
The question, yeah. I think it does matter. And who do we got today?
You know, we got the school of life. Sometimes the school of
Let's
life
do
gets
it.
spicy, guys. Sometimes they get spicy.
I'm definitely looking forward to this one because the way they explain things, I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah. All right.
All right,
Here
take us
we
to
go.
school.
It can seem a highly trivial subject to get so upset about, being rightly no more significant than who should open the door first or open a new jam jar first. And yet, judging from the heartache it tends to generate, it appears to matter very much indeed. It's at the root of many affairs. It is the catalyst for vicious arguments and bitterness. The long-term future of small children can be decided by it, and couples routinely end up in therapy or more often the divorce courts because of it. At the heart of the drama are all the complexities involved when late at night, in the darkness, one person's hand moves over to tentatively touch the other's body in a way that signals a desire to initiate either sex or a cuddle, and nothing much happens in return. This move ends up being so much more fraught than one might imagine because it has so little to do with making love. It is about knowing that we are wanted. The willingness to initiate sex can appear like the litmus test of whether one is appreciated within the relationship as a whole, and therefore whether a couple remains a going concern or not. For one person never to initiate, or else merely to respond half-heartedly to caresses, is tantamount to declaring that they cannot possibly love the person they are with. In truth, a lack of initiation or response can mean many things. It may, at points, simply be a sign of exhaustion after a long day of childcare or work at the office. Sometimes an untouched hand is just an untouched hand. The real problem in the ambiguous darkness of the bedroom is not a lack of reciprocation per se. It is the way that that ambiguity is interpreted, the way that assumptions are formed without discussion and grave offences taken without the topic having first been aired. Beneath this lies a more pernicious problem still: shame. Unreciprocated touch becomes properly dangerous when it comes into contact with a high degree of self-suspicion or self-hatred on the part of the person who has dared to slide their hand across. What might merely have been judged an innocent or temporary lack of enthusiasm comes to be taken, silently and automatically, as evidence of something far more catastrophic, proof that the other person finds us disgusting. Ideally, if we all loved ourselves enough, we would know better what to do when we moved a hand across and didn't get much in return. We would address the matter within the couple through calm and kindly discussion and try to determine what is at stake. If the evidence pointed squarely to an enduring lack of interest or emotional capacity, we would leave. After all, there's nothing wrong with ending up sharing a bed with an emotionally or physically withholding partner. There is something very wrong, or at least very unfortunate, with sticking around once one knows this is the case. But these are not the options open to us when we feel overly ashamed. Our unresponsive partners reinforce pre-existing feelings of unacceptability that render us bitter, mute, and fragile. A history of not knowing how to value ourselves makes it extremely difficult for us to complain effectively about unfortunate treatment, let alone leave in order to seek warmer lovers elsewhere. As self-hating lovers, we cannot say with the requisite calm and strategic patience that we feel rejected, that we need to be understood, and that we're looking for change. We will either say nothing at all and might have an affair, or else explode into a rage that guarantees our message won't be heard. In the tensions around unreciprocated touch in the bedroom, we catch sight of a more general problem in love: the difficulties created when we aren't able to ask for what we want in a relationship, when we suffer from a sense that we don't deserve to be happy and cannot handle frustration or respond to our misery adequately. We should not leave the untouched hand for too long in the darkness. We should dare to switch on the light, express our pain, and consider our options without shame.
Our Pillow Talk cards help prompt us to share our intimate desires. To find out more, follow the link on your screen now.
That was really great.
Yeah.
Once again, School of Life is able to break down certain things that seemingly seem really difficult and complicated. And it's what I was hinting at earlier about, like, it's how the rejection is handled.
Yeah.
And I totally relate to the, oh, well, like silently just feeling like, oh, this proves it. See, I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy.
Yeah.
Like, and then that proof, like, then makes me not want to say anything. Like, I don't deserve to say anything. I don't deserve to speak up and be like,
To do
hey,
anything about it.
like,
For sure, this made me and for the longest I had always not maybe assumed, but that people are voicing their displeasure in relationships. But I can definitely think back on a few times myself of being in experiences like that and internalizing what they're, especially when they showed the little image turn his face away. I was like, oh, I've done that before. So not said anything. I don't know if I was so negative to myself, but I probably was in some sense, like, oh, here we go again. Some not. I don't believe I had a positive response for sure to it. So I could relate to what they were expressing. That it's the not feeling comfortable enough to say, hey, this is going on, or this happened last night, whatever. So this was really good. A lot of helpful tools in this
really,
one.
really helpful.
For sure.
Look, if this helped you, let us know. Please put in the comments. This is super spicy. Have you ever been rejected? Do you internalize it? Are you in a relationship right now where you're like, oh my God, for the first time ever, I'm actually able to communicate with my partner, and it's been like such an amazing, freeing experience.
Tell us
We
about it.
want to know all the tea.
Say that. Say that.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to ring that notification bell, and we will see you next week. Until then, as always, remember that you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that. We'll see you guys.